Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Trey Brooks, and today I'm going to be starting a new series called Trey's Transactions. And basically, it's just going to give you a rundown, step by step, of every single deal that I've closed, and just basically how I got closed, how I sourced it, all the way down to the closing. So, this very first deal I want to talk about, this is the deal that just closed. I want to say on Friday of last week. It is now Wednesday, October 30th. And so it closed like last week, and just wanted to give you guys a basic rundown of it. I'm going to start a screencast, and so if I look down on my computer, or if it looks like I'm looking down on my computer. I'm just going to put this video in a corner and give you guys just, the little rundown of it, the little 1-2 step. So hopefully this provides a lot of value to you guys. Like, that's my only goal, is to provide value and be a better contribution to society. So yeah, let's start. Like I said, I'm going to be calling this Trey's Transactions. Welcome to episode 1 of Trey's Transactions. So this is a deal that I found from pre-foreclosure. This is the front of the house right here. Saying it was a beautiful property. It was on 2 acres in a great location. And it was already listed on the market. So the realtor that listed this house, this is the picture that they took. So now I'm saying you got the house, the front of the house right there. This was the entry. You got your little, this goes to the bathroom, and there's 2 bedrooms right here. Then you got your living room, got the upstairs. This overlooks the living room, and that goes back towards, like the kitchen, the dining room, etc., etc. So yeah, it was a pretty nice house. It didn't really need too much repairs. I know we always, post videos about like the houses that are distressed that need a ton of repairs. Well, this house did not need jack. So hopefully I can bleep this stuff out. So I'm going to break it down to steps. I broke it down to 10 steps of how I closed this deal. Step number 1 was you have to get a list to start marketing to. Step number 2 was choose your form of marketing or prospecting. Step number 3 is intake the results of that marketing/prospecting and capture your leads. Step number 4 was to qualify the lead. Step number 5 was set the appointment. Step number 6 was to establish rapport. Step number 7 was to convert the lead. Step number 8 was to protect your interest in the property. Step number 9 was just to believe. And then step number 10 was to close the deal. So those are 10 steps that I used to close this deal. Let's dive into it. So step number 1, get your list. You can get them from websites, or you can use a list broker, or you can create your own by scrubbing some data. Step number 2 was choose your marketing. You can either do text, voicemail, cold call, or direct mail. For this particular deal, I did a text message, and she responded to that text message. So this is exactly what we said to her. I had my virtual assistant, who's based out of the Philippines. She sent her a text message, and she responded. All the calls come directly to me. It went to voicemail for whatever reason. I gave her a call back and set up the appointment. So my assistant said, "Hey Lynn, my name is Trey Brooks, speaking on my behalf, and I'm interested in buying your property that you may own at 123 Main Street. You can even live in the property for a few months for free after we buy it. Would it benefit you at all to sell?" So I always just try to provide value, always try to get in ahead of the seller, see what will benefit them. If they're about to go through foreclosure, what can I do to provide value? And so one of the biggest value adds that we provide as a company is that we give the property owner time to live in the property after we close on it for a few months. And sometimes this could be for free. Sometimes they pay rent. Sometimes it's they have a lease option. It just all depends on the deal and how the numbers turn out. So she did. She immediately tried to call me, and she not immediately, but she tried to call back. Didn't get her on the phone. So then I gave her a call back, and the rest was history. So step number 2 is intake the results of your marketing. So I do a lot of prospecting on a daily basis. So it's I send out thousands of text messages, hundreds of voicemails, hundreds of cold calls. And so you always have to keep track of all this data. So it's what script worked best, how do you handle certain objections, how many people were interested, how many people were not interested, how many people do you need to follow up with, how many people do you have appointments with, how many contracts did you get. So it's if you know your numbers, track your numbers, then you have a business. If you don't track your numbers or know your numbers, then you don't have a business, because you don't know what the is going on. Then you can't repeat processes. You're just speculating at that point. So yeah, so then we go to step number, what step is this? Step number 4 is to Then we go to step number 4, which is qualify the lead. So establish if the seller either 1 has equity or 2 is motivated. In this case, the seller already had the house listed at $250,000 on Zillow. It had 300 saves, which I knew, that made me know, oh shit, this house is in hot demand. It was only listed for 10 days. And so the seller said that she owed $188,000, which establishes that she had equity and gives us $162,000 to play with. So that gives us a margin to play with. So it's like, she has a little bit of wiggle room. There's some people that are too over leveraged, so they can't even like negotiate. Even if they like desperately want to sell, if they don't have that equity then or that margin to like play with, then they can't even negotiate, like, because the bank or whoever the lien holder is has to get paid regardless. So then the seller was facing foreclosure and needed to sell in 2 weeks, which showed that she was motivated, thus qualifying this lead. So like I said earlier, to qualify, you need to establish if the seller has equity and motivation. Equity and motivation make a deal. Step number 5 was set the appointment. So basically, once I found out that she had equity and motivation, it was game time. Like, I wanted to go out there, meet her, see what I can do. And so I scheduled a property walkthrough in order to estimate the repairs and see if the numbers worked. So, that was it. Went out there, took some pictures, came back, ran some comms, got a final number, and the numbers worked because she wanted $260,000 for it, and $260,000 for it, but it was already in high demand at $350,000. She just needed a quick sale, and she knew what she wanted to walk away with for her bottom line. So step number 6 is to establish rapport. During the inspection, this is a great time to bond with the seller and genuinely take interest in them and decipher what they really need out of the situation, so you can provide a valuable solution and they are more inclined to go with you over other investors because of your emotional deposits in them and you making them in the relationship y'all form. So emotional deposits is basically just like stroking someone, not really stroking someone's ego, but basically it's like, you have to feed into people. Like, people only want to do business with people that they like. So it's like, if you establish that relationship where you guys both like each other, then that's building rapport. You're good to go. So that was important for this deal because the seller ended up circling back to me. So and then always be honest and always keep your word because that's really all you have, and that shows your character. And so step number 7 is convert the lead. And so what I mean by that is like close the deal, get that hoe under contract, and let's move on. You know what I'm saying? So during the property inspection, it's best to get the house under contract. If the seller is there. Sometimes the seller's not always going to be there. They're going to have it on a lockbox, or they might have tenants, and they might just or have someone else show it for them. But it's like if the decision maker is there, it's always best practice to get the house under contract while it's there. Why not? And so you don't want to leave empty-handed and have all these variables, like anything can go wrong once you leave that property. And so like I said, during the property inspection, it's best you get the house under contract while you're there if the seller is there. But seller wanted to discuss with her husband, as my offer was $244,000 and she was asking $260,000. So for this house, I didn't get the chance to get it under contract because she wanted to convene with her husband before signing anything. That's because we couldn't give her asking. She was at $260,000, then we had that offer $244,000. So she wanted to check around and see, if her husband was cool with that. So later that night, he said that he was cool with it. They agreed to it. We agreed to letting them live in the property for a month after we bought it. I sent them the contract on August 26th via electronic signature. Got everything over to my closing attorney, and we were set to close, or so I thought. So that brings us to step number 8, which is protect your interest. So you always don't want to bank that the worst case scenario is going to happen, but always treat it as if it is. Like, give people the benefit of the doubt, whatever, but still act as if the worst case scenario could happen. I didn't do this in this case. Well, I did do it. I was able to play damage control, but at first I didn't do it because I thought the seller was on board. So while we had this property under contract, another wholesaler sent us the same exact property at $260,000 and said that then the seller said she wanted to back out of our agreement. So basically, the wholesaler offered her more, and then she decided that she wanted to back out. But little did she know that gal was a wholesaler and was not the end buyer. And so we had every intention on closing on the house, so we filed the purchase agreement at the county courthouse so that if she tried to sell the house, she would have to clear up the title issues with us. So that's what you can block title by following your purchase agreement. That way the seller can't sell it from under you, or no one can buy it from under you, like undercut you. And so then after we did that, we waited. Just waited until she would either try to sell the house and then she had to deal with it or whatever. Like, I didn't even think about this deal twice. I thought it was going to be a dead deal. And long story short, I was doing like a lot of personal development, and that brings us to step 9, which is to believe. So basically, a month had passed, and due to different circumstances that caused me to want to grow more and change parts of my life that weren't being useful to me anymore, I started to work on changing my thoughts through affirmations, which then changed my reality. I started affirming. Deals flow to me effortlessly, and sure enough, I was at a networking event, and the seller sends me a text that says she wants to sell immediately at our previously agreed terms. She also stated how I was the only one that was honest with her and kept my word, which is why rapport and keeping your word matters. I am a big believer in the power of your subconscious mind. I'm a big believer in manifestation, which is basically another word for prayer. I'm a big believer in God. I am a big believer in there's extraterrestrial, not extraterrestrial, but like supernatural powers that kind of govern like the laws of the universe. I think that your mind plays a big role in that, and your thoughts do too. And so yeah, that's just, you know what I'm saying, just marinate on that for a little bit, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, look at my little waves. I'll talk about that at a later date. So, and then that brings us to step number 10, which is the best part, which is closing the deal. So we got under contract again, sent all the paperwork over to the attorney, and then we closed in 8 days. And then there you go. That's that on that. That's how that deal happened. Literally from a text message. That's it. And then she followed up with me, and that's how your boy did it. And so, easy peasy. I hope that this video added some value. If you guys have any questions about the deal, let me know. I did about 6 deals this month, so I'm definitely going to be posting a lot more videos, and then also going to follow up on the past deals that I've done over my 2-year career, and just keep it like an ongoing thing. So for each new deal I do, it's going to be part of my process is that for each deal I close, I got to make a video like this, and it's going to be Trey's Transactions, episode blank, and hopefully we get some thousands, you know what I'm saying? So thank you guys for being a part of this early part of my journey, and hopefully this content is better than like the last content I've been putting out. A lot more, you know, high energy, a lot more informative, a lot more intentional. And yeah, so if you guys liked it, please follow me on Instagram at Real Estate Trey. You can email me at realestatewithtrey@gmail.com, or you can just, you know what I'm saying, just leave a comment and subscribe, whatever you guys want to do. But I would appreciate any support that I can get, or just let me know how I can help you. So again, thanks you guys for watching, and if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. I guess that's what YouTubers do, so I gotta get in the habit, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, deuces.